Okay, recording now. Let's see here. Okay, so we've been over. Better so it's not dull. Okay. So you have your board is 15 by 20, that's a 0, not a 6. 15 by 20 inches. And most likely you'll have the board, you'll put the your work on the board with it at a horizontal orientation. So here's your 15 this way and 20 this way. And you've got the photo and painting that will sit side by side in the upper part of the board. Try to draw that so it looks a little bit more even. And this, the dimensions here will be variable depending on the size of your painting and photo. So, I'm trying to draw this a little bit more consistently. There. So if you have a, let's say you've got like 8 by 10. So it's 8 this way, 8 this way, that's 16, so that leaves you with 4 left over for the spaces. And this middle space between, I would make this a little bit smaller. So let's say this is 1 inch. That leaves 3 left over for the sides, so that would be 1.5. 1.5 there. This up here, you want to leave space so you can put your 3 scales. You can make the complementary scale first and then the monochrome scales follow. You could do the monochrome scales and then you can do the complementary scale. I don't really have a preference, to be honest with you. As long as the 3 scales are there. Remember your scales, which are going to be approximately 1 inch squares. Let's see, like if this is 1 inch, let's try to make this 1 inch, but if this is 10, that leaves me with 10 left over. No, sorry, 5 left over. This is the shorter dimension. It'll give you a little bit more room if your painting and photo are not quite 10 inches. But if I do have it at 10 and I have 1 inch here, that leaves me with 4 inches from here to here, which is not a lot. You can make your samples a little small, like 3/4 by 3/4, if you need to, as long as the colors are clear. I wanted you to have around 12. If you need to Oh no. There, 10. I'm going to put 10 there. Maybe you'll have 10. You can have them a little closer together than this, but don't crowd the pictures. And so I can't really standardize what the board layout should be, since everyone's pictures and everyone's, like, the size of everyone's photo and painting are going to be a little different. But it's probably going to be something like this. A little bit bigger. And there, so that's 10. And there you go. These scales. So if this is like 1 inch, 10 inches, that's 11. And then here I have 4 inches. These would need to be small. This is probably a little bit smaller than they would actually look if they were 3/4 of an inch in that space. In 3/4 of an inch, that would be like 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4. That would give you space to leave, like, an inch here, and you get a little tiny, like maybe just like a little sliver between them. Inch here. Yeah, that would be a little bit tight. 10 inches, if it's small. That's anyway. If that's what you got, that's what you got. As long as the colors are clear, you can make these square samples a little bit smaller. Make them smaller than 1 by 1 square. But remember, you want the same number, same number of samples. You want the same number of samples in each of those scales, so that those scales are even. What you'll do is create. I want you to mount this stuff to the board, take a picture, and I'll create a discussion board where you will post it there. So you take a picture and upload it to Blackboard for me. If for some reason it's not clear how to do that, then you can take a picture of it and email it to me. Any questions about that? Okay. Very good. All right. Any questions about yours, your assignment? Since your painting looks good. So that's all I think it's all ready to go. All right. So I think with the okay. Well, yeah, the making sure that everything that all of the so you're talking about the painting itself. You started to get texture and like it started to blend, like the painting started to blend on a shape. Anyone watching this, if you haven't figured out, Donica's typing, and I'm reading it and then commenting. Okay, so okay, yeah. So if you are, yes, turn on your mic. Absolutely.
Hi, sorry, I type slowly.
That's
It's
okay.
just that it's just that as I was trying to get a better value and going over, sometimes those edges are not sharp, and then it gets like if you go over it, the texture of the paint starts to get weird a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Starts to get messier, and I was like, maybe it's better to stop because it's going to be all blended at the end. It's not going to be like these shapes if I continue messing with it because it's hard to.
Okay. Well, from what you sent, not seeing it close up or in person, it looks all right.
But I just wanted to, keep adjusting the value or something. And I was just thinking if I were continue to do that,
Yeah.
I would just blend it probably more, or
Okay.
it was the shapes would start to disappear.
Yeah. Um,
And
well, if you find that um, it's probably better to, like, if you're concerned about making it worse, then you might just stop
yeah,
and just leave it at that. Um, so, one of the like what you're trying to learn from this assignment is how you can try to, like, how you can look at a black and white photo and match a color that also matches, like, or create a color that matches the value as best you can.
yeah. Well, and then when you start painting, sometimes you see that you have to adjust something, and
Yes.
then you go over and over, and if you overdo it, then it may start to blend.
Yep. So it's yes, it's okay. I mean, it's if you feel like it's just going to make it worse, then stop. Hmm.
Sorry, my
Oh,
kids are.
that is okay. Everyone, they're like my Elliots. Yeah, I would say do the best you can with it, and then the painting, because you traced the shapes well from the photograph, the painting looks like the photograph. And if you decide you want to work on it and make the painting better later, you can just paint it the way you want to paint it. I think uh, the limitations with how I want, like, what I want your process to be is it's not likely that it's the way you would normally work.
Yeah, it's challenging, but it helps with values and color actually.
Yeah, it's um yeah, I think it's the uh, I mean, like being able to like see lightness and like just think about, I mean, just thinking about value as it relates to color is important because it's something that it's not the first thing you would think about. And when you do it with design work, working with color, that is something that you have to think about. So that's the assignment. So with the layout here, do your best with, just like make basically what you want to do is make the whole, like the composition of the photo, the painting, and all the samples look coordinated. One thing that happens sometimes is like is if the painting and the photo get placed too far away from each other, this gap in between looks like it's like a focal point or something. I think this in here between the two should be smaller than the outside. And on occasion, I have someone do like a little tiny border on the outside and then a really big one in the middle, and it will look like the photo and the painting are trying to get away from each other, which is not what you want. So a smaller gap in the middle as opposed to the outer dimension. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So I think what I'm going to do is, I have, let's see. Do you have any questions about the next assignment, the Zoetrope?
So for that bottom part, that was like a lid from a coffee box or something. Can we make it out of cardboard or something if we
Yes.
don't have that?
Yes. So here, and I'll show you, I'll do more demonstration about this, but if I've got this scrap of black foam board, but if you've got corrugated cardboard will work for this, like, off of one of the many boxes from all the things you had delivered, since everyone's got everything coming by delivery these days. But if you take the, anything like, this is what's the diameter of this? Is just a little more than 6. It's about around 6 1/4. You can also use a plate. This one that I've got here, this plate is larger. This diameter is 7 1/2. So the circumference, like the length of the circumference, is going to affect how many cells you can have in your animation. So a smaller circle means you have a smaller base, and that means you like have like fewer options. Like you can't have as many. So like with the example, like the sample that I have here, like this. So this drum right here is traced off of something that's this size, and you can see how much bigger that gets. Just like about 1 1/4 inches in diameter bigger, and you got a lot. It's a lot farther around. So I can have the bigger the circle I start with, the more animation cells I can have. So I trace that, and I use a knife to cut it. A heavier utility knife is a little bit better. It's definitely better because the blade's more rigid and won't flex on you. But you can do it with a where are you? There we are. Seems like I have dozens of these knives. You'd think there would be one everywhere I turn. Okay. So I would strongly, well, I guess I'm going to tell you that you may not sit down. Do not remain seated when you cut this. Because you will get much better leverage if you're standing. Cutting mat, either a proper cutting mat or a cardboard back from a pad of, like from the pad of Bristol. And what I'm going to do is I could keep this down like that as a guide, but with with foam board, you don't cut through in one cut. Usually a couple, because you got to cut. It's too. Excuse me. Even though it's it's very soft and like it's just like this sort of like puffy foam in the middle between two heavy pieces of paper. It still takes a couple of cuts to get through it usually. And you should not really press hard and try to just like force your way through in one cut. Okay. And I'm just going to let it kind of trail off here and cut it in sections. And as I'm sure you already know, don't cut toward any of your digits. So you can see I haven't fully cut through. I got to get through a little bit there. And don't rip it. Just score it another time and get through. So you can see I can do that, but it'll be necessary to use the plate, hold it down, and score it around and score it around and score it around. I'm not going to try to do all of it because I need to turn it so that when I'm cutting, I'm pulling it down toward myself and I'm standing directly over the knife. That way I'll get better force downward. And I can control this better, and I'll just, like you can see where I've got the curve, and then there's like I kind of cut away from it. Put the plate right back up there like that. So if I put the knife down right there where I'm going to start cutting, and then slide the plate up to it, slide it so it lines back up, and then carefully start the cut. Really just like letting it, I'm just kind of dragging it over. So the first cut, I'm really just trying to cut through this outer paper. Second cut, third cut, just keep scoring it and going over the same spot. And if this is a little bit if it's not a completely smooth curve on the outside, that's okay. And you see, if I start trying to cut without the plate there, I can lose control and start cutting in where I don't want to. So having this, a plate like this as a template for cutting, you can just keep scoring it in sections and then out. Yep. See this? The thin blade it bends if you press hard, and so that makes it that'll make it sort of trail off and go in a direction you don't want it to. There's always this point where they have these like two cuts come together, where it always seems like no matter how many times you cut it, you just don't get through. But be patient. There. So that's how. But please, 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 when you're cutting this and you see like if my thumb is hanging off the edge here and I'm like, and your hand is shaking because you're pressing so hard, if it slips, you're going to cut deeply into your thumb. So don't. Respect the fact that this knife is sharp, and if you're trying to cut, you're trying very hard to cut through in one slice, you will, it's very easy to lose control of it, like to just like put too much force onto it, and I can tell you, I have a couple of times I have done it where I got trying to do too much all at once, and did not mind where my thumb was, and it's at the very least it hurts a lot, and at the worst you can do some serious damage. So don't. I will say that again. Be careful. And and if nothing else, if you just like think there's no way I can do it, I mean, I don't know. Some people might still drink Folgers coffee that comes in these gigantic cans, but I don't. But if it really comes down to like, if you think like, I'm sure I'm going to cut my thumb and end up in the hospital, go buy a big can of this and just dump the coffee. I mean, I hate wasting things, but I'd rather not see anybody like, just die. This is it's a great fun project, but it's not worth losing your life over.
If you go to Michael's or somewhere,
Yes.
they have those cards like circular for cakes. So they have
Great.
6, 8, 10 inches, whatever. So
Oh, great. Thank you.
they're white, but they would work.
Great. Well, those you could put a piece of black paper over it if you needed.
Yeah.
Could you send me a link to it?
Sure, I'll find it. And
I mean, I can probably find it too, but if you've got the link handy, if you could just like send me that.
no problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It takes a village, doesn't it? Then you don't have to worry about being careful cutting the circle. So, So when I was in school, we did a lot of work with hand tools, and so I learned a lot of these things. But when I first started school, my first basic design course, that was one of the places where I was learning, and of course you make mistakes when you're learning. So good, but that is an important thing. Getting the disc that is the base of the zoetrope is important because you need it. Okay, so next Tuesday there will be another. I'll do another one of these. Of course, we're off Thursday, and you can hopefully have a time to take it easy, and then also time to get some work done. And then next Thursday we're going to also have an online session to replace the in-person meeting that we're not going to have, and that one will be a requirement. Now, Donica, you don't have to worry about that because you're always here. But for anyone watching this, the Thursday next week, the Thursday meeting next week in the morning is a required meeting. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for today. I look forward to seeing your finished assignment.
Bye.
Bye.